people I had the most fights with were the least educated, because they didn't understand any type of logic. Like, this is not going to meet our needs over time. There's no benefit in this act, you know. But then you get into a fight with someone, and next thing you know, yeah, man, I tripped out. They want to talk about it. Bro, we could have done this at first. Yeah. We could have sat down and talked about this at first, where we don't have to be barbarians and punch on each other. So education, it was a magnificent tool that I took from prison. And that's something that no one can ever take from me.
Well, thanks for coming out here. We finally got a decent office space to do a visit. The last time we spoke, you were in your car. And that was actually a pretty good interview, but with your phone and everything, I wanted to redo it, do it justice, because you have a great story. So the purpose of the interviews is to talk about success stories, change the stereotype that people have about people either serving time in prison or coming out of prison. The media and many people think of us as like scary people. We have a certain look, we have a certain talk, and so I wanted to focus on people whose lives run contrary to that narrative.
Absolutely. I think that's real important. What you're doing is real important, because it's shedding another light. It's allowing us to create our own narrative, who we are versus society, dictating and creating a narrative that we brothers, we husbands, for the female sisters and mothers and whatnot. So what you're doing, the work that you're doing, is very important, and it needs to be put out.
Yeah, that's one of the things that some that others have pointed out is like, yes, we are convicts or whatever the term is today, formerly incarcerated, returning citizen, whatever, but we're also husbands, brothers, fathers, all of the other normal roles that people have in society. So you're a college graduate.
Yes, I have a degree in horticulture and one in business management, and 2 associate's degrees.
So tell me a little bit about just life. What was it like growing up that eventually led you to serving time in prison?
Dumb decisions. That's the conclusion of it. But where I was raised, a lot of things that I did, it was considered the norm for me. The environment that I was raised up in was saturated with raw morality. And the people who I looked up to and saw as being successful or, having things were either drug dealers, gangsters, pimps, thugs. And so, raised in a single parent home, quite naturally, as a male, as a boy trying to develop to be a man, I'm going to look and see strength in other men. And these just happen to be the men in my neighborhood that I've seen. And so these are the men that were admired by the females and respected by other men. So I emulated that. Of course, raised up in poverty as well. It started out me wanting to help and support my single parent mother. And then it became a lifestyle. And that lifestyle ended me in prison with 35 aggravated years. And I served 18 of that 35.
18 on the 35?
Yes, consecutive years.
And so having grown up around people who were probably in and out of prison and things like that, when you eventually ended up in prison, how old were you, and what was that like for you being in prison, especially with such a long sentence?
I went to prison when I was 22 years old, and that was considered a rite of passage. Some people it's like, hey, you're gonna go to college. Other people it's like, yeah, I know I'm gonna end up going to prison. When you have it reinforced by the people that's in your neighborhood, or you have family members, bending down, with that gangster stand, what you gonna do when you go to prison? I'm a kid. You asking me what I'm gonna do when I'm gonna go to prison? Yeah. I'm not even old enough to go to prison yet, but you already planting this seed in my head that I'm going to go. So as a juvenile, I was a rascal then. I was in and out of juvenile facilities. So looking at me from a juvenile, it was expected, yeah, he's going to go to prison. And so when I did go, it was like, this was expected. This is the norm. And a lot of things that we do, looking through the lens of an intelligent, mature human being, it wasn't normal. That's not a normal mindset to have, that I'm going to go to prison one day. That shouldn't be, but it was.
Yeah. So someone else that I spoke with recently said basically the same thing. Everybody that he knew was in and out of prison, and so it was not a big deal. And he used the same words that you did, that it was basically a rite of passage for people in his area. So that was the same way with me. I didn't have family influencers or anything like that who were planting the seeds about me going to prison, but it was because I knew even when I was younger that the choices I was making, there was a large possibility that I could end up in prison. So then when I did go, that's just the thing to do. You already know what it is. I went to juvenile and in prison 2 times. So having been in prison, you ended up serving 18 years off of that 35 years. And you ended up going to college while you were in there as well. What inspired you in the crazy context that is prison? What inspired you to pursue education?
I was already studying, I wanted to understand me. And so what I did, I stayed in the library studying, sociology, psychology, because, in prison, the guys, we all huddle up and we start giving what is called our war stories.
Yeah.
Talking about where we come from, what we did, etc. And so as I'm having many conversations from the county all the way to TDC, having different conversations, I started understanding that, okay, even though we're all in prison, there's some things that I done that, dude, like, nah, man, they, acting confused. So I'm like, okay, I need to understand me. Why did I make certain decisions? Why don't I feel a certain type of way about the decisions that I've made? And so studying sociology and psychology, trying to understand my behavior, understand my mindset, it compelled me to want to know more. And it was only so much that the library could give me, and reading books, to where I wanted to interact with professors, with teachers, instructors, and whatnot. And so that was one aspect. And then the other aspect was, okay, I know one day I'm going to go home.
Yeah. And
I have to equip myself with the necessary tools in order to navigate society. So I have to leave out better than in which I came. And education, I saw education as a tool to be able to navigate, to go into the workforce, and to create the lifestyle that I wanted. And that's what it's doing for me. I'm utilizing that tool to do what I want to, to create, become the co-architect of the life that I wanted to create. And that's what I'm doing now.
So what was the scope of your education? What kind of classes were compelling to you, or that you really felt like you learned a lot?
I would say, of course, business, but sociology, psychology classes, horticulture, that right there was just, two people can look at one thing and draw a totally different conclusion from what they're looking at. I enjoyed the perspective that horticulture gave me on life. It's just a simple act of planting a seed, but you just don't go out there and throw the seed in the dirt. You have to go and till that land before you go drop that seed, and then you drop that seed in at a particular time. And after you drop the seed, you just don't leave it in there. You cover it with dirt, and then you have to nurture and nourish that seed in order for it to grow. And then once it grows, it bears fruit. And I applied it to life, that there isn't a such thing as overnight success. So it was things like that which gave me a different window and perspective to look at life and look at the world. Education is phenomenal, and I'm not just talking about regurgitating the information that's given to you in the book and answering the test, putting the right answer on there, but now allowing education, just building your vocabulary, being able to understand different perspectives of other people, learning to agree to disagree. The more I learned, the more educated I became, the less temperament I was, the less fights I began to have, because I was able to think myself out of situations. versus just shutting down. The people I had the most fights with were the least educated because they didn't understand any type of logic. Like, this is not going to meet our needs over time. There's no benefit in this act, you know. But then you get into a fight with someone and next thing you know, yeah, man, I tripped out. They want to talk about it. Bro, we could have done this at first.
Yeah.
We could have sat down and talked about this at first when we don't have to be barbarians and punch on each other. So education, it was a magnificent tool that I took from prison. And that's something that no one can ever take from me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed out that it was more than just regurgitating the information, just passing the tests, passing the quiz, but it's the transformation, the intellectual growth and development that happens in the midst of doing all the work and the homework and memorization and learning that happens that's really transformative. That doesn't necessarily have to happen in the context of a college class, but we had the opportunity to have that college provided so that we could experience it. So I'm glad you pointed out that it's much more than just, because a lot of people that get in college just because they want to make parole, or they just want to get a piece of paper because they think it's going to make them some more money. And that, it does have the opportunity to provide more money in the long run. But that's not the kind of education that's transformative and important for human beings.
And that's a conversation that me and guys had. It used to be like, okay, I heard it all the time, man, this will look good, with parole. And I used to stress to them, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
I don't see parole for like the next, 10, 8 years or whatnot. So I'm doing this for me, for my personal growth and development, and that's and that's the reason why I consistently involve myself in different programs. I never called my cell my home. I never called officers boss. And, I understood the power of language. And if I didn't use that prison language, because it's like, okay, I'm from the free world that's in prison, not a prison institutionalized mindset. That's what I stayed away from that. Anytime someone asks me, hey, the boss, the officer, even something as simple as this, guys, when you go to another unit and you hit a wing, dudes ask you, man, where you from? You said, what's my name? Mm-hmm. No, I said, where you from? You said, what's my name? Damn where I'm from, ask me who I am. Yeah. I don't represent no neighborhood, no geographical location. I represent my last name. I represent my family. That's what I represent, So those were things that, those were things that education did for me. It just gave me a whole different perspective to where a lot of things that I thought was normal, it wasn't normal. So I made the change within myself and was able to influence and change those that were around me.
So you've been out how long now?
August 23rd made 2 years.
2 years.
2 years. So I'm a little bit over about 2 years and a couple of months right now.
Yeah. And so what kind of barriers, problems, pitfalls have you run into in these last 2 years?
Man, to be honest with you, Brandon, they may be labeled as pitfalls because I don't want to get a false illusion that guys getting out of prison or women getting out of prison are not going to have challenges. They're out there. I just didn't see them as such. In my mind, I call it the process. I foresee myself over here and this is what I have to go through. I'm working a job making $8.50 an hour, but I knew I wasn't going to be there. I mean, I was there probably about 48 hours. That's how long I was there. But I did go in and work that job for $8.50. I did get a pitfall. I applied for Lowe's, and everything was good. They liked my background, my education, and the minute they looked at my criminal record, it was like they came up with all different type of excuses, and that made me feel some type of way. It was disappointing. It was very disappointing, because I really was trying to get into the job force and work. And so I internalize that emotion, that feeling, and just allow it to fuel me to where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get a lot of no's, but someone is going to say yes.
Yeah.
And then I began to get yeses. So you have to have a strong will and a perspective with coming out, re-entering into the workforce. You know, there are a lot of programs that are out here. I hear about the hurdles that guys have to climb over, but the programs that I linked in with, they were able to help me overcome a lot of those barriers. Like they said, I couldn't get my Twit Card until 5 years of me being home.
Yeah.
I got my Twit Card right up under a year.
And just for anybody listening that doesn't know what that is, what is the Twit Card? It's from the Transportation Authority,
Yes.
TSA.
Yes, well, they do this extensive background check on you for you to work at airports or work on the port, because they have better paying jobs.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a real extensive background check in order to work in those sensitive areas.
And so that is a consistent rumor, is that people think you can't get that when you get out, but you were able to get it. I know several people that were able to get it.
Yeah.
But you actually told me in the past you didn't get it the first time around.
No, I didn't. And I was told that. They said, they're going to deny you. They're going to deny you. And so I got very creative with them. It was almost like, man, I was filing for parole. I went and got some good standing citizens in my community, to write a character report on me. I sent in, my transcripts from school, got my parole officer to even write and speak about the importance of me needing to get a job, to read. And I wrote a personal letter myself, letting them know, this right here is part of my transition into society. I'm asking you to help me help myself by, allowing me to get this card so that I'll be able to, seek employment to provide for me and my family. Next thing you know, they shot it in.
Yeah.
So that was good. But I didn't just apply for it because, man, we have to do things different. We just can't just fill out an application and send it in.
Yeah.
No, we have to go in there and represent and speak for ourselves. And if you don't have education, you're not going to be able to go in there and articulate what it is you need to say to the people to convince them that, okay, this guy deserves a chance.
Yeah. But it's not impossible.
No.
And when you told me that you had been denied twice, right? You didn't get it
it was the third time.
Yeah. That was impressive to me because that has to do a lot with your character. It doesn't necessarily have to do with your education or your background or credentials, but who you are as a person. You aren't just going to take no for an answer.
No.
You were going to continue to pursue it. And that's something that I feel is really important for people to understand, because you will get no's for all kinds of things. It might be like I had, couldn't get car insurance from several different places, or, you go to a workforce solutions office and somebody there is not really willing to help you. Don't take no for an answer. You have to be persevering and be creative with it.
Very creative, very creative. That's real important. You have to have that tenacity. If you want it, you have, because like you say, everyone is not going to tell you no. And if my time would have ran out, I would have applied for it again.
Yeah.
So.
But what are you doing now? Because so you worked for 850 for a little while, and I remember telling me you worked for something that you were taking parts home at night and learning how to do things better at this other job.
Oh yeah. From there, I was working almost like 3 jobs at one time. That job that was working at the rodeo. Then I went from there to working at a recycling center with steel. And then from there, I ended up driving for Amazon, but not directly for Amazon, but one of those companies like DHL that Amazon contract out to, but they have the Amazon apparel, the trucks and vans and things that I drove for them. And then it was just like, I'm trying to get more hours. They won't give me more hours. And so it's like, man, something I have to give, because I'm working this job and they're dictating how many hours I can work. So that's dictating how much money I can make.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do some things. I have some things I need to accomplish. And so I had a lawnmower inside of inside of the garage. And so I'm asking a friend to come over, like, you say you work on small engines. I know about small engines and, from horticulture. That was a phase of the course, so I have an idea on how things work. So I'm asking him to come over and fix it. He kept putting me out. So I ended up going to YouTube University. And I mean, man, look, I followed step by step, put in what the problem was, and YouTube walked me all the way through it. And so I started just mowing some yards. So in the midst of me mowing some yards, that's when I started working for a tax service where I'm just I went to school for Cisco networking. So I had a little computer IT behind me. So I'm doing, what is it called? Tickets. When the people call in, I'm just doing tickets on the computer. And the woman that had the contract, she like, hey, you know how to run some cable? I'm like, no, but I learned.
Yeah.
So started running cable with her, doing low data. And she said, look, the faster you learn how to do this, you'll get bumped up in pay. I said, how much is you gonna start out paying me? She said, 15. I'm like, cool. So I went to YouTube University. Went there taking some old scrap cable to the house, practicing to where they left me alone. So I went from 15, she kept her word. Within 3 months, I went from $15 to making $18 an hour, from making 18 to 23 to making 25. And then I left and I just started contracting my work out. So now I can do low data, security cameras, alarms, Ethernet cables, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing right now. I contract that work out, and with that broke lawnmower, I started Moore's Lawn Care and Outside Services.
Yeah.
It started from there. Now I have 3 lawnmowers and all other types of equipment.
Yeah, when you logged in for the Zoom meeting that we had the other day, you were doing some kind of project out there.
Oh yeah, that was my landscape. That's one of my clients. I have them on a maintenance plan. I installed. That was on another Zoom call. That what I was doing was for a client, a raised bed garden. And the thing about it is, Brandon, a lot of the tasks that I've taken on, I never did before.
Yeah.
It was all new. The thing is, I just know how to follow instructions.
Yeah.
I'm slow when I first start because I want to be very meticulous with the details on how to do it with the measurements. But I built 2 of those raised bed gardens. She wanted some succulent plants. And I never did no succulent plants, but I knew where to go and research and find the information on how to do it. And again, YouTube University.
I was listening to just a small bit on YouTube this morning from a famous scholar named Noam Chomsky. And he was talking about what it means to be an educated person. All right, this is a guy who's been a tenured professor at MIT for like 60 years, right? He's a brilliant scholar. And what he thought constitutes an educated person is not based on certificates or degrees or courses, but their ability, he basically said 2 things: their ability to constantly inquire, be inquisitive and curious about certain phenomena, but to know how to find out the answer to those questions, where to go, where to find it. And so when you told me that you went to YouTube University, I started laughing because I didn't take YouTube seriously in that way until maybe like a year ago. Is when it came to all this YouTube filming, and so I would have to go in there and type something in and look and try to find a tutorial that explain everything to me. But I'm so impatient.
Yeah.
I just got irritated. And so when you told me you were doing it, I was like, well, if you're able to do that successfully, it's not that you can just listen to instructions. You're also patient enough to get the information and then apply it in a way that was productive for you.
Yes, patience is a must. Finding the time to sit there and it's like, okay, get to the good stuff. But it's like with a book or a math problem. You just can't skip over these steps.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna miss something, and now you have to start over. And you're wondering why it's not. Because I really wasn't good at following instructions. I used to just get stuff and try to figure it out on how to put it together and wonder why it's not working. It's like you're not reading the instructions.
Yeah.
There's a reason why this screw and its hook is supposed to go like it is. But man, I advise anyone, whether you've been in prison or not, go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And, if YouTube is hearing this right here, you can pay me for promote it.
For real. Yeah, it's been very beneficial. I think that's just part of our age, the information age we live in.
Yes.
Is that really like substantive knowledge is freely available to anybody that can use it, but it's a certain kind of character we have, which is perseverant, curious, inquisitive, who is able to take that and put it to their own use. So you got out of prison after serving 18 years on a 35-year sentence, went from making $8.50 at the rodeo to then move into this, the tax service or the security service, and moved from $15 to $20, $25, and then you left and now you're doing it on your own. That and the landscaping, horticulture.
Yes, along with
in 2 years.
Yes, in 2 years. and someone told me, and so in addition to that, me and my business partner, we have a nonprofit called Effective Revisions, which it has 4 points: prevention, intervention, reentry, and education. And so the prevention is dealing with the youth. And so I just finished doing my paperwork to go into the juvenile probation detention centers to go and deal with the youth with some people that's really heavy with the JPO.
Yeah.
And so the intervention, I'm filling out my paperwork now to go back into the prison system, to do volunteer work with the guys in there, just to go in there and speak to them, whether it's dealing from a religious perspective or just giving them some words of encouragement, inspiration, and then there's the reentry, dealing with guys that's coming home to help them maintain their freedom, seek employment, and if they have any type of entrepreneur aspirations, linking them up with the right resources, just to we need all the advantages that we can get when we come home to help us establish ourselves. And then the last component is education, and that is dealing with the employers. I'm working on a deal with some people in HR so that they can use the HR language to present to them and educate them on how to get acclimated with returning citizens, because you have all these different incentives. Like, we hire people with backgrounds. And so the doors opened up, but then that was a big turnaround. They had a big turnaround with employees because you're doing this initiative, but you don't know how to really engage or deal with this particular demographic of people that you open your door to employ. So that's where ER is jumping in at, to go in and educate the employers through HR on how to deal with these returning citizens.
So what do things look like in the future? Where do you want to go with all this?
Following my passion with the nonprofit organization, that's my passion. And it was asked like, well, Quincy, how can you do all this? I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
So then the question about how can I do it? The question is, how am I going to scale it? And so my passion with Moore's Lawn Care and Outside Services, that is paying my bills. I enjoy that, but ultimately, I want that to be a resource for guys when they come home. I can plug them right into some work. Because most of the guys, they're working out, they in shape, you can push a lawnmower, I can show you how to use a weed eater, just follow some instructions. But the nonprofit, I'm passionate about that because as a juvenile, I was in and out of the system, and the youth, that's our future. And that's what I'm most passionate about. So where I see myself at is being, real heavy within the JPO system, dealing with youth. That's the first component that we're dealing with.
You have been really active in a variety of things. So we were talking the other day with Damien. You mentioned being involved, like the Credible Messenger.
Yes, just linked up with them up out of New York. That's something big that's coming to Texas. Well, it's already here.
Yeah.
They're just getting the background on it, right? They're just doing the back office work on it.
So you've been involved with Credible Messengers, JPO. You were involved in some sort of entrepreneurship program here in Houston.
Oh yeah, the OBO, the Office of Business Opportunity with the city of Houston. It was an initiative with Mayor Sylvester Turner That's why they call it the turnaround program, Mayor Sylvester Turner. And he came and spoke at the graduation. It was like so many people signed up, and then they interviewed us. They only took 15 of that 15. 6 of us graduated. They called us the successful 6. So, it's like, how do you, they look at that like, okay, only 6 of you all graduated out of 15. Was it a success? The success is going to, I guess you could say the success will be measured with what these 6 actually do with it.
Yeah.
Not just graduated, but what did they do with it? Because it's a springboard, it was a step. And it allowed us to network with the city of Houston. And right now I'm in the works of becoming a vendor with Moore's Lawn Care, to become a vendor for the city of Houston to get those contracts, city contracts. So, I mean, yeah, man, being busy for these 2 years, man, it's just, I call it the process. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the process.
Yeah. Well, you spent a lot of time preparing for it on the inside. And now it's just like you and many others, you just hit the ground running. All you needed was to be set free and given the chance and opportunity to do it.
Yes. That opportunity. Just given a chance. And that's the only thing that a person coming home from prison could ask someone to give them is a chance. You don't have to give them anything as far as tangible, but just give them a chance. Yes, some of us coming home, we do need some tangible help. But when we say, just give us something, give us a chance, give us a shot. Everyone has made mistakes in their life. Give them opportunity, get that individual that was a burden on society where taxpayers are paying for, give him opportunity to become a taxpayer. Mm-hmm. A taxpayer and a productive citizen to help rebuild that which he was a part of destroying. That's reentry right there. Giving opportunity, because society is going to have to deal with it one way or the other. You're either going to be paying for them, going back to prison, or you can put forth some initiative to help reestablish themselves, build up the economy.
So in addition to everything else you've been doing, starting your own business, 2 businesses, and coming back and being a family man and getting that reconciled, but you've also been recently active in some local politics here in Houston.
Yes, candidate Krista Dillard, she's running for District 131, and we sat down, we had a town hall meeting with her, and 2 of the points that she's campaigning on is reform and reentry. She believes that individuals coming home should be given a second chance. And some people confuse people that are for reentry of being soft on crime. Crime is one thing, reentry is another. Reentry is someone who has committed a crime, went and served his sentence according to the courts in prison. Now they're coming home and they're reentering into society to reestablish themselves. Someone go out there and commit a crime, she's not soft on that. That means they should go through the proper channels, arrested, judicial system, and so forth. So that is something real big, because we need someone that's for those of us that are coming home, who understands and is compassionate about giving everyone a second chance.
That's part of the reason I wanted to do, showcase people like yourself, just so that we can show people that the person who is labeled an ex-convict or ex-offender, whatever they want to call them, there's a wide variety, a whole spectrum of us, and we don't all fit into this stereotype that's going to fall victim to the recidivism statistics. The recidivism statistics are, the way that they're often reported is skewed in the first place. Mm-hmm. And pretty much anytime you listen to the news, you're going to hear that recidivism statistics are in the over 50%. You've got 60%, 70% recidivism rate, but what they mean by recidivism and how long of the time window is, there are many, many more of us who get out, and we just need to be given the chance. And we just want to get back involved in the community.
Yes, that's part of a lot of guys' transformation. They have a strong desire to help rebuild that which they destroyed, and they would like to have that opportunity to be it. We still have so much value and so much to offer to the world, to society, if that chance is offered to us. Education, is a must. You cannot lock a man in a box for up 10 years and not allow him to educate himself or provide him with education or give him the opportunity to educate himself and think that he's going to come out and be a responsible human being. You know, man, in school, it's like it kept you out of the day room. It kept you, I mean, we call it the fishbowl. It kept you out of the day room. You concentrate. I mean, you got all this crazy stuff going on around there, and you're trying to concentrate on your work. I done saw school keep a lot of guys out of trouble.
Yeah.
You know, it's when you have an educated, I mean, it's just, you have a seller that's going to school, you going to school, you have something to lose.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going to contemplate, you're going to think about that. So education is a must, and giving individuals coming from prison a second chance is a must. Those are things that you just can't get around. You shouldn't try to circumvent, you know?
Yeah. Well, I look forward to continuing to work with you, networking. And I really think this is sort of a different subject, but I really think it'd be interesting and unique if we spent a lot of time focusing on primarily Houston and then Texas in general. Some of the movements that I see among the formerly incarcerated, they're so broad. They're trying to start things or make changes across the whole country. But being in Texas, we're pretty unique. And then being in Houston, we're pretty unique. So networking with people who are in Houston, I think we get like the most parolees in the state end up here in the Houston area. So there's this huge population of formerly incarcerated folks just ready to be tapped into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What me and my friends, my business partner, what we're doing, we have what you call Bro Night. Bro Night is formerly incarcerated guys that are entrepreneurs. And we meet up at this spot, and man, we have food and we just talk shop. We network with one another, you know, different opportunities that's here, that's there. And I mean, business deals have been made. And it's like, when I speak to a lot of the business people, especially when it comes to reentry, they don't know that I've been in prison. They be talking to me about, yeah, them guys, yeah, when they've been gone a long time, they heads be messed up and this and that. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of trauma that them guys go through in there, you know? So they are talking to me as if I've never been to prison, but they don't know it. And I don't wear a banner like, hey, I've been to prison. That's not my story. That's just part of my life. That's a chapter in my book. That's not my book, you know? But I'm going to hit them with, I've been to prison before as well. So now, are you still afraid? Because I've done this type of business with you. We have done this, we have done that. We talked about this. But I'm a guy that's been gone 18 years, and you're afraid of a guy that's been gone 5 years, but you're afraid of what you know, that you know he been in prison. That's what you're afraid of, that stigma that has been placed on someone going to prison. We all make mistakes. Some of them guards, anyone could have been in prison if they would have got caught for the mistakes that they made, but they didn't, and they were able to bounce back from that. So opportunities, that's it. You know, we need those opportunities.
All right. Well, that's a good place to end it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so hopefully, you know, we'll do more of these, come back, talk about different topics and things that are going on and out here in local politics as well. But thanks for driving out here. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandon, for having me.